welcome back to Vinyl Friday, where I go through my records in alphabetical order like a big nerd and talk about why I love them. It's the first Friday of the month, which means that we will be listening to a track from Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. As many of you will know, this is an ongoing series. We're going through track by track, but not the original track listing, a track listing that I think is far superior. And that means that today's song sounds like this.
You could be my silver spring.
You may have noticed that I didn't play it on the vinyl today, which is ironic given the title of this series, but the reason for that is that Silver Springs by Fleetwood Mac is the best track from Rumours that isn't on Rumours. I'll explain what I mean over the next sort of 25 minutes. Let's do a quick recap. A few years before Rumours was put out, Lindsey Buckingham was invited by Mick Fleetwood to join Fleetwood Mac. And Lindsey Buckingham said the only condition under which he would become part of the band was if he was joined by his then-girlfriend, Stevie Nicks.
I said sort of politely that Stevie and I were a package deal.
In the next 3 days, I went to the record store and bought all the Fleetwood Mac records and listened to them back to front. And I made the decision. I pretty much, Lindsay said, what do you want to do, And I basically said, I think we can add something to this band.
They all put out an album together. It is quite popular. They are now a relatively famous band. And just before they go back into the studio to record Rumours, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham break up. Approximately at the same time as everyone else in the band is breaking up with their respective partners. It was a mess. Keyboard player Christine McVie says at this time, and I quote, Stevie was going through a pretty hard time too, because she was the one who axed it. Lindsey was pretty down about it for a while. Then he just woke up one morning and said, F this, I don't want to be unhappy, and started getting some girlfriends together. Then Stevie couldn't handle it. So Stevie writes Silver Springs after driving through the town of Silver Spring. She got the name wrong, but it's fine.
We were in Maryland somewhere, driving under a freeway sign that said Silver Springs, Maryland. And I loved the name. Silver Springs sounded like a pretty fabulous place to me. You could be my Silver Springs, That's just a whole symbolic thing of what you could have been to me.
So it's a sort of rumination on what will never be. And as any number of publications calls it, a post-mortem on the relationship. She loved the songs. She signed over the rights to her mother as a gift because she thought it was going to be basically a cash cow. She was expecting it to be a huge hit. But after they recorded it and were putting the album together, she was told that it was too long and they were going to have to cut it down.
We were limited to, 24 minutes aside for vinyl.
Yeah, which is what you could do with vinyl before CD. I wish we had CD back then.
After being told this, Stevie said, and I quote, the lyrics are part of the story, and we can't cut them.
When the song was recorded, it was beautiful, but it was very long. And I am really, really touchy about shortening my songs, because then you're going to take out a verse or you're going to take out a chapter out of my book, and then it's not going to make sense, and I'm not going to be happy.
I know, it's very confusing. Which of us is the real Stevie? Surprise, it's not me. Her producer explained to her that it is his job to save the song, and that was the only way that they were going to be able to include it on the album. Either cut down Silver Springs or remove one of the other songs that she had written for the album. So she consents to having them cut down her song. In the words of her producer Ken Callett, we worked for several hours and I could see that poor Stevie was devastated by the process. She said, it's so unfair that my beautiful song has to be mutilated. Ken agreed. He said he thought it was one of the greatest songs on the album. They managed to get it down to 4 minutes and 33 seconds. No, not that 4 minutes and 33 seconds. The band still said it was too long. And Mick Fleetwood, bless his soul, was nominated to take Stevie out to the parking lot and explain this to her.
Mick took me outside in the parking lot and said, Silver Springs is not going to go on the record.
Years later, Stevie would describe this situation in an interview in which she said, I started to scream bloody murder and probably said every horribly mean thing you could possibly say to another human being, and walked back into the studio completely flipped out. And that was when she had to record the vocal for I Don't Want to Know, which I think we looked at last time.
I don't understand when you love, honey, I just want you to feel fine.
You'll find a link to that episode here. Not only did this song that she loved dearly and had poured her heart and soul into not find a place on this album, it was also relegated to the B-side of her ex's single, Go Your Own Way.
You could go your own way. Go your own way.
Which you can find a link to here. While there was probably a degree of pride in all of that hurt, she was probably also quite emotionally attached to the subject matter of the song. There's grief in experiencing the death of her relationship. It's also a treatise on the relationship that could have been, but will never be. I think there's an element of grief in that as well. And it functions almost as a prediction for the future as well. It is a song about a couple entangled in time. Which brings me to Stevie's connection to the song's main characters. From the moment that Lindsay insisted that Stevie join the band with him, he had sort of sealed his fate. Because since then, the two have been inextricably linked professionally and artistically, and they are locked in the irony that each elevates the music of the other, arguably doing their best work together while being fundamentally incompatible as people. Again, as a disclaimer, as I said in the last episode, I was not there for the relationship, but it seems like they were never best friends after the breakup. But yeah, I do stand by the idea that each improves the work of the other. For example, I think that in terms of musical sensibility, musicality even, Lindsay is the stronger of the two. He brings these brilliant arrangement choices and very hooky songs to the writing team. Someone told me in the last episode, and I've completely forgotten what the answer is, but I just looked up how to pronounce producer Ken's surname. What I found was an interview with his daughter in which she tells people to pronounce her name like V-A-L-E-T. But is that the English valet or the French valet? Calais? Calat. Calet. Calet. Whoever told me last time, can you please tell me again? Because I'm really not sure. We're just gonna call him Producer Ken from this point. Producer Ken says, and I quote, "You have to imagine it's an odd position for him to be in. He's mad at her. The song's about them being mad, but it's good art form. You can tell by all of those parts he did on the guitars. It's a piece of art."
Listen to this.
Someone made the point in the comments a few weeks ago that Lindsay is able to transcend the bullshit in their relationship to genuinely try and make the song as good as it possibly can be. On the flip side of that, I think that Stevie's vocal has more character than Lindsay's does, and I think that she is a better lyricist because her words manage to artfully weave plot against poetry, and it forms a really lovely balance. I also enjoy how her lyrics show instead of telling, whereas I think Lindsay's are a lot more literal, and thus, in my opinion, as an ex-English major, less artful. I think this song is a perfect example of those two characteristics meeting in the middle and producing something spectacular. From the top of the song, you can hear Lindsay's influence. And here I'm talking about in the arrangement, which would have been Lindsay more than Stevie. Lindsay was, from what I've read, the brains behind the arrangement on these songs. And how is this achieved? Now at this point, I have no idea exactly the extent of Lindsay's involvement here, but if you listen to the beginning of the song, he's creating this very placid atmosphere with the volume swell on the guitar, similarly to what he used on Dreams, which sounds like this. It highlights the plaintive tone of the beginning of this song. He's also got his trademark guitar layers, which creates this glittery, shimmery effect. It sounds silver, if that makes sense. He's also adding some extra goodies in that guitar part that change the feel of the chords of the song, like here. Which is happening over a truly splendid keyboard change. Takes a very simple chord and turns it into something very complex, in the same way that the song can be sad, or it can be plaintive, mournful, bittersweet melancholy that just adds that extra layer of color, of depth, and it makes the song that much more meaningful. Maybe the piano correspondent can explain this better. Hello! So essentially what's happening is that they are playing this chord, and over the top of that, Lindsey Buckingham is playing, and that lick keeps landing on this note, which is a G. It makes the F chord sound like this, which is so much more nuanced and pretty than just your standard F chord. No offense to your standard F chord. While I've got the microphone and your attention, I'm just gonna hijack the show for a minute and bring your attention to this very beautiful chord sequence that is happening under. Because you know I'm a chord girly, you know I love these things. So we've got our F chord. Then the guitar introduces this chord over the top of that F bass, so it sounds like this. Which, incidentally, is the chord that's used on the end by the Beatles. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. It's the same chord as, would you say that she loves you? It elevates the song. It makes it sound like something much bigger than if she'd just stayed here. I'll show you what I mean. Here's the difference. I'll play it once with just the F chord. And here's what it sounds like with the chords that Lindsey is actually playing. Gives the song more depth, gives it a little bit more motion, it's a lot more dynamic in those chords. Beautiful. Beautiful verse. I relinquish control of the episode now. Plays this beautifully expressive solo right bang smack in the middle of the song. There are actually two guitar bridges. There's that little one, then we get a taster, a teaser of the Time Cast a Spell on You section at the end of the song here. Isn't that a nice little way to introduce that part of the song? Like, we don't go pow and that's it for the rest of the song. He gives us a little solo and a little teaser, and then we get a bigger solo. Very expressive, very emotional. The beginning of the solo starts quietly. It builds up to a peak, like this. Build, 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 and drop! The rest of the band comes in there, and he sort of fools us. It sounds like they're gonna jump into the heavy part of the song, but it drops away, and the guitar comes back down. And that sort of contrast, that sort of dynamic makes a song interesting, so that we can come in full gear at the end, like this. And that ending is transcendent, almost supernatural. Those are all very deliberate choices that he's making, and they're very good ones. They're very effective, and they create interest in a song that could have been boring. I think I said a similar thing about Dreams. If you listen to the beginning of the songs, the drums sound like this. First, there are no drums. A little bit of cymbal. Twinkly cymbals there, they work really well with the guitar. That shimmery quality. And then he drops us into the song with the drums. Here. Ocean and the kick is very sparse. Here, we'll do this thing again where that's the snare and that's the kick. Here's what's happening at that part of the song. It's very empty. And then this is what the drums sound like at the end of the song. Oh! Good drums. And then again on the flip side, Stevie's delivering a vocal unlike anything that I think Lindsey is capable of on the rest of his songs on the album. Very sad sweetness at the beginning of the song. You could be my silver spring. Like, that's so sweet. And then at the other end, you've got this almost menacing, raw aggression. It's like she's howling these lyrics like this. I'll follow you down to the sound of that in isolation.
I'll follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you.
Damn, Stevie. Similarly, her lyrics begin gently. You could be. This could have been. And there's that imagery.
Colors flashing.
And also,
You're shining over ocean crashing.
very visual lyrics. And they end with what feels like a hex almost. Time cast a spell on you. And in an earlier demo, an unreleased demo, she sings, I cast a spell on you.
I cast a spell on you. You won't forget me.
Which again, I think that feels very Stevie. She has a very witchy element to her sort of stage presence and persona. I mean, how could you look at this and tell me that doesn't have witchy vibes? It's the same sort of energy as the Crystal Visions line in Dreams.
Now here I go again. I see the crystal vision.
And in the case of this song, that incantation is time cast a spell on you, but you won't forget me. I know I could have loved you, but you would not let me. I'll follow you down till the sound of my voice will haunt you. You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you. And that's exactly what happened. It may have been a blow for Stevie to have the song dismissed as a B-side to a single, but Stevie had the last laugh. In 1997, they recorded a live kind of reunion concert. This song was included in that concert, and Stevie gives one hell of a performance on it. She locks eye contact with Lindsay, never breaks that eye contact. It's incredibly intense.
The sound of my voice will haunt you.
Later that year she was interviewed, and she said, it was for posterity. I wanted people to stand back and watch and really understand what it was. It, I assume, being the relationship. The live version was released as a single. It was the most added song on adult contemporary radio stations. It made the Billboard Hot 100 airplay chart. It was nominated for a Grammy in 1998. The Guardian ranked it as number 6 on their list of best Fleetwood Mac songs, and they do have a lot of songs. And it was added back onto the album in a 2004 remastered release. Justice for Stevie! And more recently it went viral because there was a television show called Daisy Jones and the Six, based on a book, features a band that is sort of based on Fleetwood Mac and the Rumours era. I haven't read or watched it, so that's all I can say about it, but I do know that the leads watched the concert performance, the dance, when they were preparing for their roles for the show as inspiration, and off the back of that, it went viral on TikTok.
Never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you. Give me just a chance. I'll follow you down to the sound.
Stevie's really been enjoying a sort of second wind to her career on TikTok, because there was also that thing that happened where Dreams blew up in like 2020.
Well, who am I to keep you down?
To be fair, she kind of plays into that, because in that case she offered like a counter TikTok video.
You want your freedom. Who am I to keep you down?
Maybe in part because of that, she's remained relevant in modern popular music. She has huge fans in artists like Harry Styles, or Haim, who cite her as a massive inspiration in their own music.
I met Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
The fact that I can say that sentence still, blows my mind.
Doesn't make sense!
She's the best person on this planet.
Wearing her necklace.
Yep.
And so when this performance of Silver Springs went viral on TikTok, Lindsay made his own TikTok. But we all know that the solo is not the reason that that video went viral, right? I do enjoy a redemption arc. You may have noticed I skipped Oh Daddy, and that is simply because it tends to be people's least favorite song on the album, but more importantly, it's not my favorite song on the album, and I don't ever really want to phone in an episode. I want to do this because I love the music and I want to convey to you reasons that you might love the music as well. If I don't love the song, there's really not much point to me doing it. I have included it in my sequencing, and I'll leave a link in the description to a Spotify playlist with that sequencing, but I don't need to talk about it for 25 minutes, especially when I need to get to who won the breakup. But I'm gonna have to record that later because I need to go and make some bread dough, and then I have a thing to do with my family. But for you, it's immediate. Here it is. Actually, you know what? I've hijacked this episode once already. I can do it again. The anchor has deserted us, and I would like to have a go at who won the breakup. So officially, this is a coup. Right, for those of you who are new to who won the breakup, we are using 3 metrics to assess this song to help us figure out who won the breakup. The first is songwriting. No. The first is personal growth. Is this song being written and sung from a place of maturity or from pettiness? The second is songwriting. Simply, how strong a song is this? And the third is passion. How much emotion is going into the delivery of the piece, you know? So with that said, let's give this a shot. Personal growth. I think that the song skews on the petty end of the scale, especially when you take into account that posterity quote that the anchor mentioned earlier. I mean, she was interviewed in 1997 after the live concert performance blew up, and she was asked what it was that she was trying to communicate to Lindsay in the song, and she said, "I'm so angry with you. You will listen to me on the radio every day for the rest of your life, and it will bug you. I hope it bugs you." If that's not petty, I don't know what is. So I'm gonna give this song 2 for personal growth. Songwriting. Strong on this track. I especially like that it has an unusual form. It's not your typical verses and choruses. It's got its beginning part with its beautiful verses, it's light, it's airy, and then there's this boom coda at the end of the song, and it's emotive and it's cathartic. Strong songwriting. Good lyrics as well. I'm gonna give this song a 7 for songwriting. But passion? There's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the most passionate performances that Stevie ever put to tape. Seconded maybe only by the 1997 version of this song. She kills it. She absolutely nails it on this one. She gives it everything she's got. I'm giving this song a 10 for passion. Way to go, Stevie. Let's work out some numbers now. Alas, the personal growth score has clearly put Stevie at a disadvantage because her average for this song is 6.3 recurring. Nevertheless, in spite of that dismal personal growth scoring, our Stevie is still in the lead with an average overall of 6.78 out of 10. Poor Lindsay, on the other hand, is trailing at 5.55 out of 10. Tune in next time as we continue on our quest to work out who won the breakup. Sorry, what's that? You want me to close out the show seeing as I'm already here? Do I get a raise? This is me doing my best anchor impression. Here we go. That's it from me. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support any of the weird things I do, I'll leave a description. No, that's not correct. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support any of the weird things I do, I'll leave a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page, where you are most welcome to make a donation, but no pressure, friends. If you're curious as to what my original music sounds like, there will also be links in the description. I think that's everything. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you here next week. Have a great weekend. Is that all right? Lindsay Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Lindsay. That's it from us. If you enjoyed this episode or you would like to support any of the weird things that I do, or I suppose the anchor does, any of the weird things that we do. I'm really struggling with all of the multiple person pronouns here.
The sound